So long back we have discussed about the weights. So like we have discussed about two types of weights. So one is of an like implicit weight and the explicit weight. Okay. So what is the need of the implicit weight? It is going to act as an like kind of an global wait time. So whenever the slowness occur or whenever if it is unable to find an element, automatically so the implicit weight will be applied. And where will be using the explicit weight? Okay, the explicit weight will be applied to the single line code. It will be applied to the single line of code. So it is not common to all line of code. Like only the implicit weight will be common to all line of code, but explicit weight will be specific to that particular line of the code. So we have already used the explicit weight in our coding. Okay, so where we have used, like we have verified like whether the text is getting changed. So in an while automating, there will be many cases. Like for example, you are automating, assume that you are automating one scenario where you need to verify the status. Okay, you are performing something. Okay, after performing something, if it is processed at the back end, like the status will be appear in the screen. Let's say initially the status will be kind of a draft. So if it is processed successfully, then the status will be changed to in progress. Okay, so we need to verify whether it is changing to in progress or not. And the element for the in progress, it may load in 5 seconds or 10 seconds or 20 seconds. Okay, so it will have a different refresh time. So in sometimes at the backend it will process much faster. If you have lesser data, it will process much faster and it will be like appearing the status in within like kind of in 10 seconds. But if you have a huge data, it will process and it will takes at least 20 minutes. Then what we need to do, like we will be providing the like maximum time. So let's say, but maximum within 25 seconds the particular element will be get loaded. Okay, so that is the maximum time. So for sure, like within 25 seconds the element will be get loaded. So either it may be loaded in the 10 seconds or 15 seconds or 17 seconds or 20 seconds, etc., but the element will be loaded within the maximum of 25 seconds. But assume that if the element is loaded in the 10 second, then why we need to wait for additional 25 seconds? Sorry, the additional 15 seconds, because the maximum, okay, wait time is 25. If we use the implicit wait, okay, sorry, if we use the explicit wait, so even though if the element is loaded in 10 seconds, it is going to wait, okay, additionally for 15 seconds, because obviously like it will wait till the maximum wait time is satisfied. So how we are going to avoid this additional wait time in the sense, like only with the help of the concept called as an fluent wait. Okay, so with the help of the fluent wait, we are going to like set frequency. Okay, so frequency is nothing but we call them as an polling time. So if I set the polling time as an, okay, 5 seconds, okay, then what happened, like this is the maximum wait time, right? So now the maximum wait time is like kind of an 25 seconds. Now for every 5 seconds, okay, it will check whether the respective element is loaded or not. So it will check for the element. So if the element is loaded, okay, then what it is going to do? So it is going to perform the respective action and it will break the waiting loop. So it will always break the waiting loop. So why it will break the waiting loop in the sense, because it is able to find the element. But if it is unable to find the element, then it will check in the next frequency. So after 5 seconds it will check whether the element is loaded or not. If the element is loaded, it will break the waiting time and it will do the execution. If the element is not loaded, it will keep on checking the frequency which we have set, which means for every 5 seconds it will check whether the element is loaded or not. So which we call it as an polling time. And how we are going to set this frequency in the sense, with the help of the method called as an like polling every. Okay, so now we are going to set a polling every. So why we are setting the polling every in the sense, because the element may load in multiple time frame, and in order to avoid the additional wait, so we are going to like check the presence of element in some frequency, so which is nothing but in that particular polling time. So in each and every 5 seconds it is going to check whether the element is loaded or not. If the element is loaded, then it won't wait for the additional time, it will break the waiting loop and it will continue the execution. If the element is not loaded, then it will wait for another 5 seconds, so it will check whether the element is loaded or not, then it's wait for another 5 seconds, which means like, so we are having like maximum of like 25 seconds, then which means like the frequency will be 5, so 5 times it will be checking whether the element is loaded or not. In even after completion of the maximum time, if the element is not loaded, then it will throw the exception called as an timeout exception. Okay, and one more logic here is like, so let's say, okay, in the first 5 seconds it's checking the element. If the element is not loaded, so practically what it used to do, it will throw the exception, right? Obviously, like it will throw the exception like no such element exception. So whenever like we are using the fluent wait, we should ignore the exception. So there is a method called as an ignoring. Okay, with the help of the ignoring method, we should ignore the exception. So whatever the exception we need to ignore, we need to specify the exception. Okay, now let me just try to implement the same. Okay, where I'm going to write in the sense like inside the sub branch, inside my own branch. Okay, so I have switched to the branch called as an LMTI. Now whatever the code changes I am doing, so all the changes will be captured only inside the LMTI branch. Okay, now let me open the existing page object where we have used the wait concept. Now assume that this particular text will appear in 5 seconds or 10 seconds or 20 seconds, etc. So now I'm giving the maximum wait time. Let's say I'm providing the maximum wait time of an 30 seconds. Now I need to set the frequency. How I'm going to set the frequency in the sense, with the help of the method called as an polling every. So now I'm using the variable name. So the variable name is driver wait. If I say driver wait dot, so there is a method called as an polling every. Okay, so now I'm setting the polling time as in 5 seconds. So now what happened? So we are having the interval of 5 seconds, but how we need to set this interval? So obviously like with the help of the method called as a duration, so that we should use the class called as a duration. So duration of seconds is 5. Okay, so we should not mention the interval straight away. So whenever you are planning to pass some interval, it should be passed only with the help of the duration class, and in which I'm using the method called as an half second, which means every 5 seconds it is going to check whether the element, whether this text is present or not. If this text is present, then it will break the waiting loop. But if the text is not present, in the first 5 seconds, it's trying to check whether the element is present or not. If the element is not present, then what it used to do? It will throw the exception, right? And how we are going to avoid the exception in the sense, with the help of the ignoring method. So I'm just using the same variable, okay, inside which we are having the method called as an ignoring. Okay, we should use the ignoring method. And what is the exception we need to ignore? So obviously if the element is not present, it will throw the exception called as a no such element exception, right? Okay, so if I type no such element exception, it will give me the suggestion. Okay, it will give the no such element exception. You can select from the suggestion. Okay, so it will add the respective class file. So by this way, even in the first 5 seconds, if it is unable to find the element, it won't throw the no such element exception. Rather than it will check the presence of element in the next interval. Okay, so which is nothing but we have set the frequency. In each and every frequency, it is going to check whether the element is present or not. If it is able to find the element in any of the frequency, then it will break the waiting loop. So even though like if the maximum wait time is 30 seconds, if it is able to find the element in the 15th second, it won't wait for additional wait time. So it won't wait for an additional of 15 seconds, because we have used the concept to call as an like fluent wait. So generally, like we will be using the fluent wait along with the explicit wait. So like previously, when we are using the explicit wait example, we have given the maximum duration. It will check the presence of element only after completing this maximum duration. But what we have done, we have altered the code, like we are just verifying the presence of element in some frequency. In order to set the frequency, like we are going to use the fluent wait, and we are using the polling every method, and with the help of the polling every method, we are setting the frequency. So in the respective frequency, it will check the presence of element, whether the element is there or not. If the element is there, it will proceed. If the element is not there, it is going to throw the exception, and even like we are ignoring the exception. So our execution won't stop, because we know if the element is not available, it is going to throw the no such element exception, and we have ignored the exception. Okay. So by this way, like we can avoid the additional wait time. Okay, so this is how like we are avoiding the additional wait time. Okay, so now whatever the changes I have done, all the changes will be captured in the GitHub desktop. Okay, so now like this is kind of a temp file. So maybe like if you step out of the particular class, okay, the temp file will be uh, removed. So now this is the one and only class file where we have made a change. So this is an existing method. Now initially it was like maximum wait time was 8 seconds, but we have changed to the 30 second, and this is the two line of coding which we have added. So whatever the changes we have done, all the changes is captured. Now let me just commit this code. So let it be like kind of an explicit code, and if I just commit, then where it is committing, it is committing to my own branch called as an LMTA. And if I click on the push origin, so the code will be available only in my branch. Okay, so now if I need to add the same code in the main branch, then what we need to do? So we need to follow the review and approval process. As I told, there is an option called as an preview pull request. If I just click on the preview pull request, so whatever the changes you have done, everything will be listed over here. And if you just click on create pull request, now what happened, it will opening the github.com, and you need to log in with your GitHub ID, and you should provide the title. So what you have done, so I have added the, okay, explicit, sorry, we have added the fluent wait. Okay, and if you scroll to the down, so whatever the commit you have done, so everything will be displaying below. Even here you can do one more self review, and you need to select the reviewer. So the reviewer is nothing but the person who is going to review your code. So basically like you should select your automation test lead. If you click on the settings button, like the whoever is in your working with you, so those names will be appearing here. If you select the name, and then if you just click on this create pull request, so the PR will be created, so which we call it as an pull request. Now initially the pull request will be in the open status. If I navigate to this pull request tab, it will be having two things. One is of an open PR, another some closed PR. So yesterday we have merged one PR, so even whatever the PR we have created, we can able to see all the history. Okay, so now I have able to see the closed PR as well. Now I am going to review the open PR. So every time, so they will be keep on like reviewing this pull request. And if you see, each and every pull request will have some different number. So yesterday it was #1. Today it was #2. Now the reviewer will open this PR, and they will be navigating to the file changes tab, and they will be reviewing it. Okay. So if everything is okay, so they will click on approve button. If there is some issue, if they find some logic mistake, then they will add a comment. We need to address it. So now in our case, like everything is okay. So now what I can do, so they will simply approve, and they will be merging this pull request. If they click on the merge pull request, it will asking for confirm merge. If I click on the confirm merge, okay, the same code will be added to the like main branch. Okay, so now our code is added to the main branch. If I navigate to the repository, okay, even in our repository, because our repository is always pointing to the main branch, right? If you see what is the latest commit which has happened in our main branch, so which is nothing but, so we have merged this pull request to from like this LMTI to like our main branch. And whenever you are doing commit, so each and every commit will have the commit ID. Okay, so if you click on the commit ID, like it will give you the information like whatever the file which has been changed. Okay, and sometimes assume that so like someone has did a wrong commit. For example, okay, here in the page object I have added some wrong page. Okay, so sample page. Okay, so by mistake I have added this file. Okay, so either it will throw the pop-up, so we can cancel the pop-up because we can review and we can add it from the GitHub desktop. Now assume that like I have added this file called as a sample package. Now I have done a commit. Okay, I have committed to the LMTI. So now this code is added to your repository, your own branch. But later you recognized, okay, that is a wrong file you have committed. Is it possible to revert the wrong code? Yes, it is very simple. Like when you are using the GitHub desktop, so there is a tab called as an history. If you click on the history tab, like whatever the changes you have done, so all the changes will be captured, and this is the commit which you have done recently, right? So then if you want to ignore this commit, you can just right click on it. Okay, and there is an option called as an revert changes in commit. If you click on revert changes in commit, if you just click on the push origin, okay, so the revert commit will be added. It will be deleting the new changes. Okay, so now the sample package won't be available because it will deleted. The red symbol indicates the deleted, right? So it will deleted. Initially you have added you have added a new file, but I have reverted the commit. Whatever the new code which you have added, so all the new code will be removed from your branch. Now if I navigate to the branch, okay, so even in the page object I am unable to find the page called as a sample because it has been deleted. Okay, so this is how like we will be reviewing the process.